Well, this is the Old York Workshop. By the name, it suggests that we're near Old York, which we are. We're about 10 miles north of York, so that's where we are geographically. Obviously the UK. So anyway, what we're going to be doing in here is, you've heard of fusion food. We've got a bit of a fusion workshop. We've got a bit of woodwork, we've got a bit of metal work, we've got a bit of motorcycles, so a little bit of everything. And what we sometimes do is mix the three together, which is quite interesting. It gives a funny concoction, but we come up with some good ideas. But anyway, I'll take you around the workshop. But first of all, if you've been watching Hayes Outdoors, you'll have seen that we've been converting his camper van into, his transit van into a camper van. So that's been pretty good, quite unique and very bespoke. So now that that's finished, we're going to get on with our own projects. We've got one or two lined up which I think you're going to like. Well, certainly hope you're going to like anyway. So first of all, I'll introduce you to the workshop and the tooling that we've got, and then we'll tell you what we're going to be doing. Right, so obviously workshop's got loads of tools in it, but the most two important ones in here are the fire and the kettle. The rest of it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we're starting at the right hand side of the workshop. The door's just behind me, and we're going to go around anti-clockwise. So first of all, we've got the mortiser. If you're into woodwork, you know what one of these does. Cuts a square hole in a lump of wood, so you can do a mortise and tenon joints. Good for making doors and windows. That's what we've used it for in the past. This is a real old one. It's by Multico. I couldn't tell you how old it is, but my guess is it's 1960s. And at that time they used to use Hoover engines, which were in the washing machines, and that's what this is. So it's good, strong, sturdy, cast iron. We've just redone the beds today on it, so it's working nicely. Chisels are going to be next. This has been in storage for quite a while, and cast iron doesn't like to be in storage. So we're going to give this a good once over. Maybe we'll do a bit of a video on that later on. Right, pillar drill, nothing special, it's a Draper. Not saying anything bad about Draper, but it's just a basic pillar drill, nothing very big. We don't need anything very big. As we go around, we're into the metalworking side. This is a Warco GH 1236 mil. It'll take about 900 centres. And it's got a removable bed, so we can do 400 on swing. Not that we ever need to do that. We've had this one a few years now. Not bad, not fantastic, but not bad. Accurate enough for what we do. Bought this to do prototyping on camera mounts for light aircraft, which we've made quite a few of. Generally working in aluminium. So it's never been pushed very hard, this machine. I've put metal through it, but very, very rarely. It's about 900 between centres. I think I said before, you can throw 400 by taking the bed out, but we generally don't need to go there with that. So otherwise, yeah, robust little machine. Warco's an English company, but this is made in China, and they import it under their own name. So, this is our rotary table that we use on the mill. I'm just servicing this at the moment. I'm stripping it down and rebuilding it. It's been in storage. The only thing is, where it was stored, a friend of mine was looking after it for me, and it was a bit damp. So it suffered a little bit, so that's why I'm stripping it and rebuilding it. So yeah, as I said before, I mean, these machines are made elsewhere, and they're brought into the UK, or they used to be brought into the UK under the Lion name. This is an FM60, this one. But Curtis at Cutting Edge Engineering, he's got one of these, and that's under the name of Havco. Exactly the same machine. So these are now being brought into the UK under the Warco name,
which we'll get to in a minute. We won't interject just yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just exactly the same machines. You know, they've been just in this form for years and years and years. They're a proven thing. Very accurate, good and solid. 1.5 ton in weight. It's not going to go anywhere. And there's also Inheritance Engineering's got one of these, and his goes under the name of Enco. And I've seen them under, is it GM 236? They're just all over under different names. So yeah, we bought it to sort of do prototyping on camera mounts for light aircraft, and it's done that no problem.
That's there's another video in that, I think, for anyone who's interested. My dad hasn't said this, but he used to make, he sort of saw a gap in the market about camera mounts for light aircraft, and you've made a few little prototypes, haven't you? And there was a bit of interest, but money runs out, life gets in the way, so perhaps you'll resurrect that in the future,
certain licenses you need for each aircraft, which are quite expensive.
Yeah.
So maybe we can resurrect that later on. But at the moment we're dealing with other little things at the moment. So yeah, it's a good machine. Such as Curtis in cutting edge engineering, we work in metric. We can work in bananas as well. I'm sure you know what I mean, Curtis. We've also got a safety officer who's not here at the moment, four-legged one, who's in love with Homie.
Yeah, she's got the hots.
Every time you're on TV, she's there. I'll let you see that. We'll keep telling her he's on the other side of the planet. It's not going to happen. So yeah, we'll introduce you to Betsy, our safety officer, one day as well.
Hey, who knows? We might get her a COVID jabs and fly her over. And can I just say as well, this is pretty cool having this stuff here, because we've been on a couple of projects together. One project in particular, fixing my girlfriend's car. We bought her a light bar and she needed it fitting, and because the one we bought didn't fit correctly, it needed some brackets making. You were able to do it on this, weren't you?
Did it on these two machines.
Yeah, so improvise, adapt and overcome. So you'll see a lot of that on this channel, hopefully. And I think that's an important thing about being a maker as such, being able to bounce off each other and solve the problem that's in front of you. But anyway, right, Dad, let's move on. So we've talked about the lathe. Let's move to the next.
So this might give you a clue as to one of the bikes we're working on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So we've got 4 bikes in here at the moment, and between a lot of them there's 15 cylinders, so work that one out. So this is our planer. This is a Rovec Euro 3. It calls it the MSP310M. Basically, it's exactly 310mm, or if you're talking bananas, I'm sure somebody out there knows that one. It'll take 12 bananas across here. And it'll also take 12 bananas through the thicknesser, but it's set up for the top at the moment. And we've built dust extract into the shop. So we've got several gates for different machines, and it goes off to the dust extract. Keeps everything neat and tidy. Okay, this is our StartRite 401E bandsaw. It'll take 15.5 bananas in the vertical and 14 bananas in the horizontal. So good solid machine. And wherever possible, if you are setting up your own workshop, always try and get bigger than what you think you need, because you'll always run out of capacity. And always try and get cast iron if you can. Much better to work with, you get a much better finish. Much sturdier, stronger, heavier, makes all the difference.
And who are these fellas here then?
Well, these are two, Laurel and Hardy, everybody knows who they are. But if anything goes wrong in the workshop or goes wacky or whatever, it's their fault. Always is.
Here's an old panoramic photo that you took, isn't it, Dad? Of
a lot of years ago when we lived in this village. That's our house there, or was.
Yeah. Built that one, didn't you?
And the one next to it.
Yeah. What year was that?
This was 2005, this one. That one was 1991.
And what was the square foot of either of them?
That one was 2,500 square foot, and this one was 4,500 square foot with a workshop and a granny flat above the workshop. So decent size.
And we call that village Weaverthorpe. Yeah, in Old Yorkshire. Weaverthorpe. Right over here then.
So we've got our DeWalt crosscut. Had this a lot of years. It's done a lot of work on site and in here and the other workshops. So you can get a foot cut on it. And you can actually attach the hoover to it. So you can get your dust extract on that as well.
Speaking about site, Dad, tell people, what was it you did? What was your trade?
I used to run a suspended ceiling business, partitioning, but we were big into the acoustics. Used to build recording studios, a lot of industrial noise control, places like Tata Steel, loads of places up and down the UK and into Ireland.
And what was it that got you into making stuff?
Always done it as a hobby.
Yeah. When did you start? Take me back. I don't even know this.
Right.
I've never even asked. I've not even asked him these questions. So yeah. What was the first thing you made?
First thing I made? Bloody hell.
Besides me. Or my brother. Yeah.
One of the first things I made in my early 20s, believe it or not, you stood about 5 foot from.
I have a sneaking suspicion I know what it could be.
This was probably one of my first things that's still here. It's going to get redone. And that's going back 40 odd years now. So it's seen better days, but you never know, it might just resurrect.
What did you make that out of?
This is mahogany.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's just painted.
Small body, it'll be a nice guitar, that.
Yeah, it is. It's quite light, is that one. But as we go around, we've done others.
Yeah. This is it.
So this is one that we're on with at the moment. This is a brother to the one I've already made. This is obviously Gibson Les Paul style. I've done a 6-string already, which works fine. It's a beautiful guitar. It's got Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates pickups in it. Now this, again, is solid mahogany, proper Brazilian mahogany. Now I got a lump of mahogany going back to my early 20s. I just left it because I didn't know what to do with it, and I just wanted to hold on to it until I got the right projects. So we came across the right projects with the guitars, and the sustain on these is incredible. So we've got walnut for the fretboard. This is yet to be shaped, and it gets a radius of 12 inches, which is a standard.
12 inches?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So that's going to be the neck for it. As you can see, we're doing a 12-string version.
That's where my dad keeps his magic wand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cast a few spells with that.
So this is getting shaped at the moment, but this is made out of 3 pieces. You can't actually see it there, but I've laminated 3 pieces together, and it makes it much more stable. You hardly need a truss rod in it. And again,
does that just stop the grain fighting?
It stops the grain from fighting, but it makes the neck just simply more stable, more rigid, and really it doesn't need the truss rod.
Yeah.
It's there just in case.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
Hey, going back a couple of steps. So talk us through this. Why have we got pictures of boats?
My first job from school was on the big oil tankers, and my dad, being an amateur painter, decided he was going to paint one of the ships that I was on, and that, yeah, you can see there, was in '94.
The year I was born.
And that picture was painted supposedly with the ship on the Firth of Forth, just near the bridge. A place called South Queensferry. Funny enough, I was up there at Christmas time.
Yeah. And going back a couple more steps.
Right, well, this is a picture that my wife bought for me for my, I think it was my 30th. Now you can see there's a rather large bike on there. Wonder what that is. But at the time, my hobbies were obviously guitar making, so you see a guitar on there, motorcycle riding, and at that time I was into shooting as well, so hence the gun. But I never did all 3 at the same time. Oh, and you can see the camera swinging around my neck as well.
Yeah.
So it's
bit of an amalgamation.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool, is that? So,
right, so we're moving round to sort of my favourite part of the garage or workshop.
This bit here. So we've got a radial arm saw, which is great for doing tenons.
Yeah, we recently found out it's probably the most dangerous tool in here, but
well, that's what they reckon on the old YouTube. There's 1 or 2 people out there who use them for doing dovetail joints and whatnot. Yeah. And yeah, in that sort of scenario, I wouldn't. I thought they were the safest machine, but.
And in my humble opinion, the best sounding saw rather in the shop. It's just got a great sound to it. Oh, listen to that whistle.
And no brake on that.
Yeah.
So coming around here, we've got the main saw.
Yeah. And
well, we've got our Blues Brothers who we just love.
Yeah. There they are. The Lord works in mysterious ways.
So we'll have to try some woodwork at night time with sunglasses on and see how we turn out with that.
Right, let's get on to the pride of place anyway.
Right, so this is the main saw in the shop. This is a Shepak, which is German. Absolutely fantastic piece of kit, really accurate. And it's a panel saw, so you've got a sliding table on it.
What's the max you could cut on this, Dad?
We can do 2.2, but with a bit of overhang, 2.4 easy.
Yeah.
We've got an out-feed table over there. We can just push up to it.
Yeah.
And then that's dead easy. So this is highly accurate. You can dial in, well, down to the millimetre, and then we've got a micro adjuster, so we can go really fine on this one if we need to.
Yeah.
This side is down to the mill, but again, absolutely brilliant.
It's just ergonomic. It works so well. You know, you can just see through this little viewfinder, move it along. It's really precise. It's really nice to use, and it's really solid. What's the max you can cut with the blade there?
4 bananas, or in other words, 110 mil.
Yeah, but just to clarify for these guys, where does this banana thing come from? He's talking about inches here.
Yeah, well, it's quite funny. I picked up on it a while back, and it's a guy in Australia, cutting edge engineering. I think his name's, I always forget his bloody name. I think it's Kirsten, but I always remember Curtin for some reason. But anyway, apologies for that. But
you're a big fan.
That's where the bananas come from. Now, funnily enough, now he does some pretty big stuff. Now we can do some pretty big stuff as well, and I'll just show you. And I know I watched one of his videos the other day, so I know he's done this. So when tapping, M2. And if we really push the boat out, we can get up to M10. So that's where we are with that. So again, all small stuff when we're doing the gimbals for cameras and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there you go, M2.
Right. Now, are we going to walk over to the final corner of the garage? I'm just shielding them. Yeah. What's behind?
Right. Well, we've got one or two toys here.
Yeah.
These two are used at the moment. I'll give you 3 guesses which one I'm riding at the moment and which one my son's riding, who's 6'21" tall. So we've got the KTM 690, which I can't touch the floor with that one. The VFR 750. They're all dirty at the moment because we've just finished Hayes Outdoors project, so these are going to get a good wash, and these are going to be the next projects.
Yeah. So
we've got quite a rare Honda CB650.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in this era and I'd never even heard of one of these.
Yeah.
So we've just picked this one up. Nick's bought this one. So this is going to be our first renovation project.
Yeah.
Then we've got a little machine here, which is the CBX 1000Z, 1979. So we're going to be rebuilding this one next, after the 650.
So talk us through the CBX, Dad, because it's got a bit of a history, hasn't it?
It's got a bit of a history to it, yeah.
We'll cover this in more ground, won't we, on another video, but just give the guys a little bit of a lowdown.
This bike was never technically sold. It was given to the Isle of Man in 1979 as a marshalling bike. Now, when I got the bike in 1990 as a non-runner, it had a name on the tank that was faded. So it seemed a bit odd having a name on the tank. So I got in touch with, well, the name on the tank is Jeff Duke. So I wasn't sure about the history of it, so I wrote, at that time we didn't have emails and stuff like that, so I wrote to Duke Marketing and told them about this bike, and sure enough I got a letter back off the son, I won't say names at the moment, sort of confirming that the bike was there, that he himself and his dad had ridden the bike. So that's the history behind the bike. I've had it since. Rebuilt it in 90 when I got it, because it had a bent crank, which isn't uncommon on these. On number 2 it can throw a rod, and that's what had happened on this one. So rebuilt it. I bought a donor engine just for spare parts, because the gearbox had gone in that one. So used it just for bits and pieces for this one, hence the spare barrels over there on the mill.
Let me just see if I can get a shot of Jeff's name there.
Well, I can pull the bike out.
Yeah, do it, Dad. Yeah.
You're going to stop it for
Yeah. Busting for a lag as well.
Yeah.
So we've just experienced our first blooper. What happened, Dad?
Battery ran out.
Battery run out. Yeah, a bit stupid. So anyway, right. We've completely lost the flow that we were in now. But yeah, beautiful machine. Looking forward to having a go.
Working on this machine's actually quite good.
Yeah.
It's just certain little quirks you've got to remember. Certainly for the drive for the tacho, remember to take that off in the right order. A lot of people forget to take the worm drive out when they take the head off, or the cam cover off. And one of the cam holders that holds the worm drive for the tacho is very susceptible to getting snapped. So you've got to remember to do that in the right order, because they're pretty sought after pieces now. And if I can get this one, when I take this one off, if I can measure it up, I'm thinking of making 1 or 2 spares just in case, you know, there's other people who've got the same problem. With these bikes being rare now, getting engine parts is just a nightmare. So the other thing that we're looking at as well is we've heard rumours. Now, I've never had this problem at all with the cam chains splitting and putting holes in the engine. Never had that. Now, the cam chain tensioners are supposed to be quite weak. Now, I've got a spare one which I've looked at, and the one that's in this machine I know is in good fettle, but it's something we may look at upgrading. We understand there's a firm in America that does an upgrade for them, so we may well look at that. Depends what we find when we tear into the engine. But I can't remember just at what stage I put new cam chains in this. It runs 2. One from the crank to the front 2 cams, and then from the front 2 cams to the rear 2 cams. So these are your inlets, those are your outlets.
Where did you sort of learn about taking engines apart, Dad?
It's just something you do as a kid. You start, you know, with 2-stroke engines, which are an absolute doddle.
Yeah.
There's not much in them. You just progress from there. This engine is very easy to work on.
I mean, you must have to be fairly brave to strip it on your own for the first time. I mean, I've never taken an engine apart besides my Aprilia RX50 when I was 16. We took that apart and pretty much.
We'll be doing that one pretty soon.
I know I am. Yeah. So this is going to be interesting for me. I get to learn and we get to video it and document it, and if it helps people, it helps people.
There is a picture over there from last time I tore into this.
I know exactly where it is. Just you wait there. Right, how'd you like that?
So yeah, that was the first time I took this engine apart. I mean, obviously this picture's seen better days. I mean, it's, you know, from 1990. So you can take the cover off the bottom and you can work on the gearbox, whatever else you want, without stripping the head. But obviously to get the cam chains out, you've got to strip the engine. They're an endless cam chain, so you've got to take the crank out, you know, to change it. So that's what we're going to be doing. Other thing I'm going to do as well on this is replace the clutch plates. I remember last time going back probably 10 years now, I remember opening this up and the clutch slipping. So I mean, I've ridden the bike since then, but that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to replace them.
Here he is.
The man himself.
The gaffer. Let's get a quick little shot of that tank.
So my dad being a sign writer for a famous coach firm, obviously sign writing is a dying art now. put the name back on the tank, which is exactly where the shadow mark was. So as far as we know, that's accurate. So I've done quite a few miles on this. I've been around the coast of Scotland on it, done the Cotswolds, a few of the trips. Lovely bike to ride.
Can you remember the first day you rode it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Where did you go?
Well, I brought it back from a friend's house at Seamer back to my mum and dad's house in West Aden, and that was just, I remember it as clear as day.
How big was the smile on your face?
Massive. Now, one thing about this bike are the exhausts. These are the exhausts that came with the bike. Now, I think there's some other sort of exhaust that's been cut down, but if anybody can recognise them or can suggest anywhere where I can have a set rebuilt exactly the same, because the sound of these and the baffle system is just unbelievable, and I want to keep that as original as possible. So when we rebuild this, it's not going to be showroom, it's going to be accurate for its year. I don't believe in a bike that's 40 odd years old looking as though it's just come out of the showroom. That's not what it is. I think they should be kept accurate. It's done 45,000 miles as this one, and it should reflect that.
I mean, when I was younger, it was always immaculate, but you've been through a bit of a tough time recently. And
pretty tough time, yeah. So sadly, for the past couple of years, the bike's been stored outside, which is just sacrilege, considering what these things are worth now.
Yeah, and not just monetary, sentimental value.
Yeah. I'll dig a picture out and put it on of Nick, who's sat behind the camera right now. Ugly bugger. Sat on the back of this when he was 18 months old, with a little leather jacket on.
I've still got that jacket, a bit big for it, mine, but
yeah.
I remember going over a bridge in Sherburn with a pair of Reebok Classics on that weren't tied, that flew off, and we had to turn around and get them.
We hit pheasants with it.
We did hit a pheasant, and we thought, I remember you sort of saying, oh dear, and then we turned around and the pheasant was flat as a pancake, but the bike was... The bike was all right. So rest in peace, pheasant, 2001 or whatever it was.
So I've actually hit 2 pheasants with this. I was going up to Whitby, which was one of my Sunday trips, which I love to do.
Yeah.
And I saw this pheasant in the distance, so I changed my position on the road. The bloody pheasant changed its position as well. It went straight through the fox, above the mudguard, hit the brake lines. Now there's a double banjo bolt here for the front brakes, and it managed to undo it.
Wow.
So when I put the front brake on, I just squeezed all the fluid out. So I ended up coming back down from Whitby with no brakes.
Not ideal.
Well, a back brake, but you know, who cares?
Yeah.
So pheasant stuck to the engine. What a lovely smell coming back though, roast pheasant. Brilliant. So yeah.
It's going to get looked after. It's going to get restored. But like he says, not going to go OTT. Just keep it looking. Keep it looking good.
So that's 3 projects we've got now.
Yeah.
Straight off the bat, CB650.
Which we've not really spoke too much about, but they're pretty rare from what we gather. It's a 650Z. I mean, we were looking for a project together. First project, not done one together, and sort of looking through eBay and Facebook Marketplace and whatnot, and this one popped up, and I thought, CB650, I've not heard of those. And I asked my dad, I sent it to him, and he said, yeah, I've not heard of those either. And we did a bit of digging, and lo and behold, it's a real bike, and we now own it. So
I grew up with this era. Remember the 404, the 550, the 750K1. Never knew about this. And funnily enough, we spoke to a motorcycle engineer the other day. Similar era. He'd never heard of one either.
Yeah, so yeah, same again. But this one, I think, this is my bike. I think we're going to take it a bit further, the restoration, and try and sort of get it looking pretty showroom condition. But I was sort of discussing with my dad today. I don't think we're going to put the original pipes on, which are over in that messy corner over there. We're going to stick with a 4-into-1 exhaust, because me personally, I think it sounds really good.
The other thing with this bike is obviously the rear shocks. These aren't originals. However, I do have the originals Now, they were rebuilt once, but they could do with rebuilding again. And if there's anybody out there that can rebuild shocks, I'd be interested, because I'd much prefer to have the originals on here than anything else. So get in touch if you can, please.
Yeah.
Great. And anybody who helps us or sponsors us or is interested in sponsoring any of the projects that we might have, be it woodwork, be it the motorbike side, the back wall, we're going to put the sponsors' names on there as a permanent reference. So every video that we do, the sponsors' names will be in clear view, so we're going to get good coverage.
So I'll just interject here. My housemate's a fantastic artist, so we're going to get him to hand paint it and probably video that as well. So I mean, there's a tool vault there at the moment, and all the bikes you can't actually see, but it's a pretty big size, and yeah, I reckon Sam will do it some good justice painting. So yeah. Give us all your money and sponsor us.
So that's the bike side of things.
I just want to say a quick thing as well for a few people out there. This isn't an RC30 before you think that we've got loads of money and, you know, CBX and stuff. I mean, fair play to CBX. How much did you buy that for, Dad?
Bought it for 800 quid as a non-runner.
There you go.
That's in 1990. So,
yeah.
You know, I've had it a lot of years. It's given me a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this bike ain't going anywhere.
But yeah, it's sort of painted as a bit of a tip of the hat to the RC30, but it's an RC36, and this was my first big bike because, well, how old was I when I got my first bike, Dad? 4?
4?
Yeah, 4. Look,
took him in his first trials competition at the age of 4, and he came third.
There you go. It's in me blood. But yeah, old PW50. That was, you know, I grew out of that pretty quickly. So moved to York, studied music. Was poor as anything, still are, but couldn't afford to do my licence. And in January, I went to Italy with my girlfriend, and we hiked to the top of this mountain. She'll tell me it wasn't a mountain, it was a small hill, but nevertheless, we hiked to the top of it. We sat there, had a coffee, and I could hear motorbikes going around the mountains, and I thought, I need to do that. So I turned and said to her right there and then, I'm going to book my licence and I'm going to do it. So I did, and 3 months later I was on the road. So yeah, sometimes apply yourself.
So your older brother's into bikes as well, isn't he?
My brother is, yeah. So yeah, hopefully the three of us will be able to get out. But me and my dad have never ridden together until sort of August last year, and since then we've done probably quite a few thousand miles, really. Yeah.
Cool.
So you're riding the VFR at the moment, aren't you? But yeah. It's a good bike. It's a really nice bomb-proof bike. They sound great. They look great. Pretty decent on fuel. It's just it can get a bit tiring on your wrists and neck if you're tall, like myself.
Yeah, for an old fart like me, it does get your neck after a while, sort of being in that prone position. But yeah, it's a good bike. The only downside with it at the moment is one of the discs needs skimming. So bit of vibration when you use the front brakes, but
luckily we've got the machinery to do it. So yeah, and lastly, I'll just quickly say something about this. I mean, this was a bit of a treat to myself. I'm a landscape gardener, and I was doing fairly all right last year. I've had a few crappy health problems, so slowed down a bit since then, annoyingly, but decided to treat myself and get this. This is the first new bike I've had, really. It's 2020. It'd only done 2,000 miles and I bought it, and it's just absolutely mint. I love it. It doesn't like going beyond sort of 90 miles an hour, theoretically, if you were to do that on a road, because obviously I haven't. But yeah, you take it past 90 and it starts shaking. It's not made for that, you know. It's made for just having fun and yeah, taking it around the countryside and a bit of green laning in the future, perhaps.
So we know how to use bananas.
Yeah.
So we're all right.
Right. I think that about wraps it up, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. We're pretty much there. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
These are going to be the projects. We're going to be starting the CB650 in the next few days.
Mm-hmm.
So follow Hazy. There's a link from Hazy to us as well. We'd love to see you come across and subscribe to us. It would be really good to have you on board.
Thank you. keep an eye on those roads, because if you see a KTM 690 and a VFR 750 going 30 miles an hour, then you know who it is. Right, see you later.
Bye-bye.